Without abortion, women can't be free.
It's murder.
America's anti-abortion movement is gaining ground fast, and it's white evangelical Christians on the front line.
We will see Roe v. Wade consigned to the ash heap of history where it belongs. I promise.
They're a strident force in the pro-life movement, but not so long ago, this group was completely indifferent on the issue of abortion. So what happened? This is how a group of men turned millions of disengaged Americans into the most powerful political force in the country. It's hard to believe now, but abortion hasn't always been the political firestorm that it is today.
Early on, before Reagan, the Republican Party was actually more abortion-friendly than Democrats. The Republican Party was conservative and liked state intervention in people's personal lives and so forth.
This meant that in 1973, the landmark Roe V Wade decision would legalise abortion across the country.
The decision to end a pregnancy belongs to the woman and her doctor, not the government.
The only significant group to object was the Catholic Church, and they had always done so. White evangelicals were then, as now, the biggest religious group in the country. They made up 26% of the population. But unlike today, they were ambivalent on the issue of abortion and politics in general.
Evangelicals regarded abortion as a Catholic issue, and it was really irrelevant to who they were or what they cared about. They were more interested in evangelism, that is, bringing others into the faith, and they had really no interest in politics. Politics was dirty. It was considered Satan's realm to some degree, and they didn't want to be involved in politics at all, certainly not in any organized way.
Until a man called Paul Weyrich got involved.
It made no sense to me. They need to be unified. And I began to think of what could you do?
Political operator Paul Weyrich teamed up with influential preacher Jerry Falwell. The two men looked at churches filled with believers and saw political and financial opportunity.
All power to the people!
The 60s were a time of political revolution, with the civil rights movement, feminism and the LGBT cause pushing their way into mainstream politics. And Weyrich's mission was to crush the liberalism that was threatening conservative white America.
Paul Weyrich really was a visionary because he saw the potential way back in the 1960s.
Weyrich and Falwell first managed to mobilise evangelicals when changing laws around school segregation put all-white Christian academies at risk.
The two of them really came together to form the basis for the religious right.
When the evangelicals lost the segregation fight, the two men were on the hunt for any issue to keep the momentum going.
Paul Weyrich said, as I recall, there was a conference call among these various leaders after they had mobilized, and somebody said, we have the makings here of a political movement. What other issues can we talk about? And several people made suggestions. And finally, a voice on the end of one of the lines said, how about abortion?
So I think our family was involved in helping to launch a horror show.
Weyrich and Falwell enlisted the help of philosopher, evangelist and cult figure Francis Schaeffer.
My father, Francis Schaeffer, was a well-known evangelical leader, and I made a film series with him called Whatever Happened to the Human Race. And we went on the road with this series and had a series of seminar tours that put it in front of about 150,000 people in 20 different venues.
It is a human rights issue, an issue that concerns the human rights of unborn babies who, by the hundreds of thousands, are being murdered.
I flew around this country in Jerry Falwell's private jet.
We have a threefold primary responsibility. Number one, get people saved. Number two, get them baptized. Number three, get them registered to vote.
In just a few years, abortion went from a non-issue to a massive moral concern for millions of evangelicals, and this passive group was transformed into a political force.
This gave them an entree into places like the White House and other places because they could bring millions of voters with them. Then the thing became a juggernaut. The biggest person that we helped talk into taking a stand was Ronald Reagan. He went from the governor who had legalized abortion in California to becoming a pro-life advocate for only one reason.
Polling indicated the Reagan campaign was still losing rather badly. And it's at that point, early in the fall, that they begin to step up the rhetoric on abortion.
I happen to believe, from all the study that I have been able to do, all the information I've been able to get, that when you interrupt a pregnancy, you are taking a human life.
And that appears to have helped them with evangelicals going into the election day in November.
Ronald Reagan won the election, and in the year 1980, America had its first president with a pro-life agenda. This massive shift in abortion sentiment among evangelicals and then the president himself proved that Weyrich and Falwell had realised their vision. They had created a religious right that they could use to set the political agenda for an entire nation.
Paul Weyrich, I think, was, I sometimes call him an evil genius. He was a visionary, and he saw this as being a potent electoral force capable of redirecting the political direction of the country. And I think, in large measure, his vision, his aspirations have come about.
In 1980 is when we see the political triumph of this movement, getting an important seat at the Republican table, and they've been there ever since.
If you really think about Christ and redemption, all people are precious.
I was wrong in the past. This was while I was governor. I'm not going to apologize for the fact that I became pro-life. Ronald Reagan took the same course.
I stand for the sanctity of life.
It's no secret that I'm pro-life.
As the political power and the ability to deliver of the pro-life movement became so clear, there just was no place anymore in the Republican Party for people who were pro-choice. There used to be a group called Republican Women for Choice. I mean, they disbanded. I mean, they just don't exist anymore.
I'm very pro-choice.
And we're proudly defending the sanctity of life.
There's no way to undo the damage we did. I mean, you know, I look at Donald Trump and part of my brain says, part of this is your fucking fault.
The baby is born, the mother meets with the doctor, and then the doctor and the mother determine whether or not they will execute the baby. I don't think so.
I mean, this is a case study of it doesn't matter who you are or what you personally have done. If you make clear that you support the pro-life position, they will support you.
Abortion is the law of the land, and
we're trying to change that.
30 states are trying to overturn Roe V Wade right now.
I think it's very possible that the Supreme Court, given its current composition, will reverse the Roe v. Wade decision. However, should that happen, I think the backlash would be furious. I think the backlash probably has an even greater potential of upending American politics than any action on the part of the Supreme Court.
Yes, I would say that millions of white American evangelicals have been manipulated in ways they don't understand. And the evangelicals, their story is a footnote to a larger story now.
Can we ever depoliticize abortion? My imagination stops there. I don't think we can.
Cheerleaders of death! Witness the cheerleaders of death and destruction!
Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this explainer. If you did, you can check out other ones in the series. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And if you have any ideas of what you think that we should cover in explainers, then you can let us know in the comments.